Today I wanted to talk to you about very first episode of Lost, this pilot part one. And I did say I'm going to talk about the individual parts separately. So like the finales and the premieres, I will do as separate parts when they're broken up like that. But yeah, as for the pilot, I mean, this is just it's a really strong pilot. One of the best pilot episodes I've seen at least. I think the thing that works so well about this episode is the scale of it. I mean, if you know about this, it was like a really expensive pilot. One of the most expensive pilots at the time. I think maybe, I mean, it still is one of the most expensive pilots. Maybe only passed by something like Game of Thrones or something. But just the scale of it, and uh, all these characters and the background extras and just the plane wreckage and explosions and things flying around, people screaming, running around, it just really does convey, a plane crash. I mean, if I remember, they like destroyed a plane and left it on the beach there. I think there was a point we were filming that someone saw, a crashed plane on the beach in Hawaii and like reported that in, called it in to somebody. But yeah, I mean it's a solid episode, and I think one of the things that it does good, which maybe other shows would make this mistake, is not taking away too much time exploring the side characters or the supporting characters. Because you meet Jack and you meet Kate, and you establish that like this is your leading man, this is your leading woman, but you don't spend too much time on any of the other characters, which you don't really need to, because that going forward you're gonna have multiple episodes devoted to these characters to find out who they are, and of course they're gonna interact more and more in future episodes as well. So you really don't see much of the other characters besides just like general stuff. For example, like you get hardly anything in this episode from characters like Locke and Sawyer, but of course that's fine because we know in a couple episodes we're going to get Walkabout, which is going to specifically focus on Locke, and we'll see a little bit more of Locke in the second part of the pilot and Kate's episode in Tabula Rasa. And just like Sawyer, we'll see Sawyer more, especially as the whole stuff with the air marshal is. But yeah, all the other characters is just kind of like a general stuff, introducing that like this is a person here. Like we don't see much of Sun and Jin besides the fact to establish like, oh, there's a married Korean couple that doesn't speak English. Like hey, there's this guy and his son looking for their dog or whatever. And obviously you got Charlie as well, kind of setting up what we'll find out about Charlie in the second half of the pilot. And the flashbacks for this aren't anything special. It's just Jack on the plane when it's crashing. But it was also well how we get the various vantage points of the crash throughout the pilot episode. I mean, obviously we only see this one vantage point in this episode, but we see Charlie and Kate's vantage point next episode. But yeah, I mean, it's just a really strong pilot. I mean, it's one of the best episodes of Lost. It's what got so many people interested in this, and it also really doesn't dive too deeply into the mystery of this as well. That's something else that they kind of go in slowly and build in through. Like, all we really know is that like they're stuck on an island, there's a giant monster there, and no one really knows where they are because of the whole turning off the radio and going in the wrong way and stuff like that. So I mean, that's really it. And besides, like, the general mystery of, who some of these characters are and what their deal is. But yeah, it's a good episode. I enjoy it a lot. I mean, there's not a whole lot more to say. I feel like some of these episodes I'll have more to say and than others. I also do want to try and keep these, like, short when I can, not talk about, not go on for too long. But yeah, so I'll be back tomorrow with the second half of the pilot episode. I guess pilot part two. Um, and I know, every show. I mean, not every show, but a lot of shows have pilot as their first episode. But of course, this has a double meaning, with the focus on the pilot of the plane, and finding him and his fate. But anyway. So yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time with Pilot Part 2.